Good morning. This time around it's Tuesday, and I'd like again to thank you for taking a few moments to catch up on what we did last week in the course and what's upcoming this week. And last week, to be very quick about it, we talked about what has become a cliche that the only constant is change, and looked at organizational change. And it's a very, very important topic, particularly as it's been driven by many factors over the years. But one of the things that you can see, and in a way we tend to try to build this course on previous units, if you look back to Unit 4, when we talked about technology, and then Unit 5, we introduce an extraordinary circumstance, and we see how the confluence of those came together and drive change even faster. So it is something that we really must keep up with, and we must understand the dynamics. And the one thing I think was a recurring theme for me in many of the discussions, and in actually some of the things that we'll probably talk about, you'll notice even going back to previous units, one of the things that I tend to emphasize is not so much what happened, but why. I'm sure all at some time in our life, in a very, very probably almost philosophical moment, we've either said or heard somebody say, things happen for a reason. And when that happens is frequently the person doesn't really look for the reason, do they? It's just a statement of belief. But what I want to emphasize, at least when we look at things from a real world, hard-nosed organizational view of things, things do happen for a reason. And what I've really been seeing is a tendency that just about all of us have, myself included. We look at that what happened. And the key is to look at why. Why did it happen? What was the reason that something happened? So that we can either confirm or change the circumstances that are driving us forward, and understanding what we want to happen and what we need to happen. We really have to understand why. So we're going to continue that a little bit as we go into week 6. And week 6 comes up with the idea of decision making. Things that happen, things that are done, are results of decisions. We make a conscious choice to do something. We do that as individuals, we do that as organizations. So the two concepts I'm going to just talk about really quickly in the video, and I think you're going to find them reinforced over and over again in the resources and what we want to do. The first is the idea of decision making under uncertainty, or decision making in the concept of risk. And a lot of people make the effort to understand that without understanding that risk and uncertainty are actually different things. Most of us tend to think of them in the same vein. We use them interchangeably in the same sentence. Risk is something where we know the possible outcomes, and we know what's likely to happen under certain conditions, and we have to make a decision based on that. Uncertainty is where we really don't know what could happen, and we have to make a decision under that condition. Two decidedly different things. And I really want people to make sure that you pay attention as we look at the concept this week, at the more fully developed explanations we have of that for you. So that's the one thing. The other thing is the field of knowledge management, right? One thing that contributes to our understanding of risk and our understanding of uncertainty is the level of knowledge we have about something, the level of informed ability to make a decision. And you notice me being very careful in the use of the word there. Why? Because in my experience, and I am guilty of it myself, it's common usage in our language that people tend to conflate, which means to combine, to have them mean the same thing, the terms data and information, when they're really two different things. A lot of what we say, well, here's the information, what we're really presenting somebody is data. And data has to be turned mentally or physically into information. Information is data that's been refined and we can use. So one of the things we have to look at is, how do we look at data? And even then, if it's made it to the next step, how do we look at information? How do we look at what we're doing? Are there biases that we have? Are there biases that our organization has? The answer is yes. And this goes back to previous units where we talked about culture. So these are the kind of unifying themes as we go forward. And I'd really like people to pay attention to things in that respect. Practically now, we're in week 6. All right. We're getting near the end. What I've done is I've gone into anybody in the course who has had a missing assignment or, is in falling behind a little bit. And what I've made sure is that the grade book is up to date. And if an assignment is missing, and I don't know about it, we haven't come to some accommodation, it has now been marked with a 0. This gives you a true picture of where your grade stands right now. This does not mean that decision at the 0 is final, but that's what it carries right now. If the course were to close today, that's what your grade would look like. What do you want to do about it? What do you determine you're going to do about it? You determine what happens, not I. Okay, so that's what's going on there. The other thing is be aware that next week and next week's assignment will be the pretty much the ultimate assignment in the course. Week 8, we continue with a graded discussion and some new stuff too. But because of the quirks of our grading schedule and our terms following on each other very quickly, as you've come to realize if you've been with Post for any number of time, week 7 is really the critical time in a course. So just throwing that out there in front of people, making sure you're ready for those practical realities. Okay, again, thank you everybody for your participation. This is a pretty highly engaged group, and I've really appreciated the effort that people put in. Please, again, as always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Thanks again.